let's talk about Fire Emblem.
Let's do it.
So I have a take from my girlfriend actually. She's playing the Black Eagle route currently.
Oh no.
She says there are no good men to marry in the Black Eagle route. That's her flaw that she wanted me to put forward here.
Caspar, Hubert, Linhart, and that's it.
And Ferdinand.
And Ferdinand. She's right. I agree. 0 for 4. Strikeout.
She recruited Sylvain from Blue Lions just to try and marry him, and even then she didn't get him up to high enough support, so she had to marry Sothis.
Oh, brother.
Or at least, I actually don't know, because she plays female Byleth. I actually don't know if that's even possible to get the Sothis scene.
It is. I've played female Byleth before and gotten it all the way. So
okay. Well then, yeah, she had to marry Sothis, which I don't think she's gonna like very much. But
no,
yeah, she was extremely mad about that. Actually, she's like, I couldn't marry anyone.
Okay. Well, look, I agree with her. I mean, I got nothing. I have no. She wants me to get in an argument with her. Pick a different topic. I mean, yeah, I'm not getting one there. So what's your biggest complaint with Fire Emblem? Screw the people. What's yours?
My biggest complaint? I don't know, man. You'd be hard pressed to find. I think my complaint is that I don't know. There's not a lot of encouragement to make units into classes that they are not, inherently suited for.
I agree.
No real incentive to do that. Which I don't know. I've always, because in every playthrough, I'm always tempted. I'm like, oh, what if I made this person a heavy armor class?
Or what if I made Felix an archer?
Because there's no real benefit to thinking outside the box in that regard. No, especially if you're going, there is no feasible reason in hell that you should ever play a heavy armor class. They suck.
Never. No. They're bad.
This whole game, like the meta of this game, seems to be based on movement and just sheer attacking power. And while armored units can really put up a fight as far as the enemy units go, because they're in pre-planned positions that you have to go to, most of the time, if you have an armored unit, it's just going to spend its whole time chasing the fast units around while the fast units decimate everything on the field. So there are some classes that are just inherently not good to use, even if you want to, delve into them. And I feel like that's my biggest complaint with the game. It's just that you're given so much freedom to pick what your units end up being, but there's no real incentive or reward to doing so.
I absolutely
you'll just end up handicapping yourself. Essentially.
Yeah. If you take like one of the 10 elites, like their descendants, out of their designated classes, you get no use out of the relics.
Yeah, there are some that I've seen work. My girlfriend is a big fan of Assassin Claude.
That's different. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, I mean, assassins are also one of those classes. There are some classes that you can just make anyone. Like anyone can be a cavalry class because horses are just really good. In Three Houses.
Why Wyvern Riders too?
Why anything that, again, they give you so much movement, and that's why they're so good. And you can essentially, like, if you know you're about to be attacked by a magic user, which are super effective against horse boys, you can just dismount, and that kind of nullifies the weakness.
Yeah, same thing with like a flying unit. You just dismount and nothing happens, basically.
Yeah, there's just I guess there's no reason to do it because the students have their inherent stats that they're good at. And the level up system goes where each character has a higher chance to increase their stat by 1 each time they level up. So for instance, Petra has a really high chance for every time she levels up for her speed to increase. And that's why she's such a speedy character in the end. And why a lot of people choose her.
That's why she's a top 5 character in the game.
Like a sword master or a dancer.
Assassin,
and an assassin, yeah. But if I wanted to say I wanted to make Ash a heavy armored person or a magic user, that's hard, That's hard to do.
Yeah,
and
it is.
It's not like it, and that doesn't really hamper my enjoyment of the game because
not at all.
I feel like their characters are suited to their respective roles, which is fine. It's just that the game teases you with the possibility of having these crazy combinations.
I've
So that
seen
you can't.
people, yeah, I've seen people like take I've seen people take certain characters out of what they're best at, and there's just no use for it. There really isn't, because if you take them
Because
out of your element, you're not going to get the most out of them.
this may be the optimizer in me talking here, at least in Fire Emblem terms. But you just get so much more use out of your characters if you put them in specific roles instead of these other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the game like teases you and kind of holds it over you the entire game every time you look at the class screen, and when you look at the characters in the different outfits, that hey, they can be this and you can go this route, but there is no benefit to doing so.
Yeah.
And I feel like this was meant to be counteracted by some of the budding talents, where there are secret talents that you can kind of unlock for each character. But even though I have unlocked some of those, it seems like they hardly make a difference anyway. But that might just be me. That's just me not doing a lot of research into the subject. But that is my personal
biggest gripe.
Sort of biggest gripe, or I guess more of a missed opportunity, I feel. But again, doesn't hamper my enjoyment of the game, honestly, in the slightest, really, when I put into practice. So
yeah.
That's me.
For me, I think the biggest miss, there's only one storyline in the entire game that ties up all the loose ends.
Is that Golden Deer or Church?
It has to be Golden Deer.
Like, I mean, yeah, Golden Deer, you beat Nemesis.
That's the only route.
You beat Nemesis, the guy that you saw in the opening cutscene of the game.
There's only one chance you get at doing that.
Yeah. In like you're at 400 hours now?
Over, yeah.
It's just...
I've done that battle so many times.
I mean, the stories are good.
All of them are.
Most of them are. I feel like Black Eagles kind of falls off a little bit.
It's so short. It could be way longer.
It's short, and it's also really hard.
It's
the hardest route in the game.
I think so too, yeah.
But Blue Lion, again, we've talked about this before, how each of them kind of fulfills a role. Golden Deer is very balanced. I definitely think that's the first route that you should play if you are getting the game for the first time. Blue Lions is a very more self-contained story, at least in the later ends.
Mm-hmm.
Because each story is more or less the same until you get to the time skip. But yeah, the Blue Lion story is much more self-contained. It's a little more shorter scale, even though you are fighting in a lot of the same battles. And Black Eagles is just kind of the wild card route of it all.
It is.
Where you get to kind of be semi on the other side of the conflict, which I feel, is a big appeal of that route. And then Church route is kind of just the true neutral. It takes a lot from both Golden Deer and Black Eagles and kind of just meshes it.
Yeah, if there was to be an anime, like if there's ever been an anime series on Fire Emblem Three Houses, I feel like they'd have Byleth in the Church route at times.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, again, like, if you don't want to choose a side,
yeah,
you go with, you do have to pick Black Eagles to get to it.
Yeah, you do.
But it's kind of just like the true neutral path, which, the boring path.
Exactly. Couldn't say it better myself.
I mean, Sedith and Flane are cool, but not as cool as Dimitri and Klon.
No, not at all.
I want your opinion on this. I've seen people criticize the monastery portions and how they're kind of tedious and boring, running around the monastery doing various fetch quests. I wanted to know what you thought about that.
So,
like, how are the monastery segments to you?
So I've never completed all of the quests. I don't think I've completed half of them, because they just don't really serve a purpose. Like, if you're gonna do quest battles, chances are you're way over leveled to the point where they don't even matter. And the only quest battles that matter are the paralogs, and they're not even like really quest battles.
Yeah, I do the quest battles just because they give you, I think, more rewards usually, and then if you go back to the person who gave you the quest, they usually give you more rewards, and it's also a good level up opportunity.
It is,
but it just seems, I personally never really had a problem with the monastery. I had fun exploring it, kind of learning where everything was, talking to the characters in between battles, seeing how their dialogue changed.
I will say this: post time skip, it almost serves no purpose.
Yeah, post time skip, you don't really need to do a whole lot in the monastery to get your. I mean, obviously, you need to sit down and have lunch with them to have
that's
motivation
it. That's literally
increase.
all you have to do.
That's pretty much all you do. Greenhouse doesn't really serve a purpose anymore. Blacksmith, kinda, but you can do all that stuff from
the post menu, the before battle menu. Yeah, before battle menu.
So, it's fun to it's fun to see the character interactions change.
It is.
But besides that, there's no real point to it besides getting just those small little extra rewards before moving out again.
Another small thing, I guess, is the animation.
Yeah, the animations are pretty jank. Looking back, they're pretty stiff.
They're not great.
Each person only has like 1 or 2 animations per existence. Lawrence. The Lawrence and I guess now Yuri pose.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's a lot of characters, I had talked about this, that just kind of use each other's animations. Like Balthus and Claude have the same set of speaking animations.
Yeah, like the big old over, just like that. Yeah.
Because it's really fun. Because if 2 people are sitting down in a cutscene, they purposely shoot it just from like the waist up, so they didn't have to like animate chairs or anything.
Exactly. Oh, it's so obvious too.
Go into the marketplace and look into one of the fruit baskets. You will see a JPEG on a piece of paper just spread out across the length of the box. The graphics are nothing to really marvel at least the 3D in-game models. The cutscenes, magnificent, beautiful. Absolutely fantastic.
There's only one problem I have with the cutscenes.
What's that?
The Golden Deer ending cutscene doesn't make sense with the battle with Edelgard.
What do you mean?
So the church route and Golden Deer route, if you play the game, they share the same ending cutscene when you beat Edelgard at the palace. And it makes no sense because it says because her last words are, "I wanted to walk this path with you." In Golden Deer, you never had any affiliation with her at all.
I mean, that's true. I've seen video essays on why each house wins if they have Byleth on their side.
That's a thing?
Yeah, I've seen because each house leader seems to have like a fatal flaw that without Byleth they can't really achieve what they want to achieve. Like with Claude, obviously, you're the person with the, I guess, kind of the means to which he can use to further his dream. Like, you have this power that he can work alongside with to work towards bringing Fodlan and its surrounding regions together in peace.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the argument for Edelgard was with Byleth there to keep her ruthlessness from spreading forth from her.
Yeah, like contained.
Yeah, having that person that she cares about close to her at all times when you play her route keeps her from being so dictatorial and ruthless.
Dang, I can't find it. I typed in why each house wins in 3 houses.
Now, she still kind of is that way in the route in Black Eagles when you side with her.
She is.
But obviously in like Blue Lions, she turned herself into a damn demon to get her way. So in Black Eagles, I believe it's much more toned back due to Byleth's influence. And that's why she ultimately wins in the end. And then Dimitri kind of goes without explaining.
He's a maniac.
Byleth just didn't give up on him and was able to show him back to the light after he had gone down his dark path already.
Damn, I can't find it.
Yeah, it was a video I watched right before I was about to have a college class, back when we were still on campus.
Good God, you mean 2 years ago?
Yeah, like what's it been, 10 years or something?
Something like that,
every
maybe.
every day feels the same. But
Correct.
yeah, um, what the hell are we talking about? I went on such a huge tangent there.
So we talked about. So I had a gripe with the animations, and I was talking about the
Oh, you're
Golden
talking
Deer
about
ending
how
cutscene. The Golden Deer cutscene doesn't make sense.
didn't make sense. Yeah. Uh, I mean, that's why I think it could make sense, because I feel like the game implies that you've spent time with all three of the house leaders, because you can choose to do so. Like if you choose, you can choose to have like, I think if you still talk to the house leaders from the other houses, you can still get some support points with them.
You can get points, but you can't get conversations.
Yeah, I was about to say, can you not get conversations?
No, you can't.
I thought you might be able to get the initial ones, but no. Now that I think about it, they call you teacher in those ones, which they would have no reason.
One of them does not call you teacher.
Teach.
Oh, teach.
Oh, good old teach. But yeah, that's true. I can see why it would not have as much impact in Golden Deer as it would.
Yeah, like I don't get because I don't get that ending, because even like in the pre-dialogue before, your Byleth's like, I'm not sure if I can bring myself to kill her, and Claude's just like, what are you talking about?
It's like, what the hell? Why?
What do you mean? You haven't seen her. You haven't seen her in 5 years, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that, but again, it doesn't bother me, and I'm sure it doesn't bother you much anyway.